Hello everyone and welcome to another video on JavaScript programming. Kaushal this side from SimpliCode, and today we are going to work on a project in JavaScript. We'll create two different games in today's video, and these projects will help you get a better understanding of the concepts that we have covered so far in this JavaScript tutorial series. So before we begin, make sure that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and press that bell icon to never miss an update from SimpliCode. So without any further delay, let's get started. We have come across almost every important topic in JavaScript, whether it is an important one like regular expressions in JavaScript or the one mainly asked in interviews like promises in JavaScript. Each topic has its own value in JavaScript and every topic is important. So in today's video, we'll come across two different types of games. The first one will be the one wherein we'll recreate Flappy Birds using JavaScript. Now many of you guys must have heard about this game already. If not, we have to take a bird through a space between two walls in this particular game. So let me just take you through the game once. And here we are. So this is our game. You can see we have a bird over here. And we have to take this bird through this yellow hole present in between the blue color, right? The yellow holes are random, and if the bird strikes the blue wall or maybe at the bottom of the screen, then the game will over. Fine. So I hope you guys understood what we have to do in this particular game. Now we have to press a key from the keyboard to make the bird jump repeatedly, and we have to make the bird jump so that the bird will go through the hole between the walls without touching the boundaries of the wall. So I hope you guys must have understood the task here. Now let's try to recreate this game again from scratch, and we'll do everything by ourselves. We'll go through the HTML part, we'll go through the JavaScript, and we'll go through the CSS as well. Both HTML and CSS will play a vital role in making this game, along with the JavaScript part obviously. So let's start with the code. We'll go back to VS Code, and here you can see we have a HTML file named flappybird.html. So we'll change the title of this as well. We'll write here, instead of document, we'll write here Flappy Bird. Fine, save it. Now, first of all, we'll take a container for the game to run. So as you can see here, we have a container over here. Fine. So this is our container. Now we have to create this whole container. Now, what we'll do for that is we'll go to the body tag and we'll write here div ID is, let's say, game, and we'll close this div. Now inside this particular div, we'll create three more div tags. So we'll write here div ID is equals to block, or we can write here pipe as well for the wall or for the pipe we can say. The next we'll write here div ID is equals to hole, that is for the hole, and the last one is for the bird. Fine. So we'll write here div ID is equals to bird. We'll close this div, and a fundamental task is done here. Now we have a container for the game. We'll put the game inside one single container. The next thing we need in a game is a block which we'll use to create the walls in the game, followed by the hole in the block for the bird to go through it, right? And the last thing is the bird itself. So we'll add an image here for the bird. So let's do some styling for all this that we have written over here. So what we'll do is we'll move to a CSS file. So this is a CSS file, and we'll write here for the whole document the margin will be 0 by default. Okay, so we'll write here 0, and the padding will be 0 as well. Fine. We are good to go. That's a common thing. The margin and the padding will remain 0 for the whole HTML document. The next thing is to create the background of whole document. So we'll do something creative here, something different from what we did till now. So what we'll do is we'll create the background with two different colors. Now you might be thinking of what these two different colors are. So what we'll do is we'll write here body, and then we'll write here background color we'll take any background color. Let's say we are taking cadet blue. Fine. Now save it. Save this part as well and open this on live server. So here you can see we have a background. We have the background of a HTML document as cadet blue color. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll use two different colors over this background, right? So we'll write here background image and we'll write here WebKit linear gradient and we'll write here RGB 175, 75, 75. Then we'll write here RGB. So these are three particular colors. We'll write here 31, 31, 31 and the last one will be RGB 59, 153, 148. Fine. So here we are, and the next thing we'll do is we'll write here min height will be 800 pixels. Now save it, and you can see here we have three different colors over here. We'll go to our CSS file and you can see this WebKit linear gradient over here is unknown to us, right? So CSS gradients let us display smooth transitions between two or more specified colors. So we can do it radially or linearly. Now let's see the difference, and you can spot the difference here in the output. We have three different colors over here. We have red, black and a little bit of gray in between, right? So let's move on to the first container and we'll create the game area now. Now what we have to do is we have to create the game area. So what we'll do is we'll access the div tag with ID as game, and let's start working on this div tag and we'll understand it much better. So we'll write here game and we'll write here next up height of this container will be, let's say, 500 pixels. Width is, let's say, 400 pixels. So guys, remember this height and width, we'll need them later. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll write here border, and the border will be 1 pixel solid black in color. Fine. And we'll add a background image as well. We'll write here background image, or we'll write here background only. We'll write a URL, and inside this we'll write fine. Save it now, and you can see here we have a container over here. Now it's not working. It says there's no such image present in a folder. So what we'll do is we'll check it from here. Here we are. We have bg2 over here, not bg1. So we'll write here bg2.jpg. Save it now and move back to the browser, and here you can see we have an image over here. So it's not quite visible till now. So what we'll do is we'll write here background size as cover. Fine. Save it now, and here you can see we have an image over here. Now the image looks fine. The next thing we'll do is we'll write margin, and we'll write here margin, and the margin will be 1 rem and auto. Fine. Save it now. You can see we have the block in between. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll use the overflow property here, and it will not show the bird going out of the box. So we'll see it in a moment what this overflow property will do. So what we'll do is we'll write here overflow is equals to hidden. Save it now. You can see it's not making any difference as of now, but we'll understand it later. Now we have a box over here on the browser, and the game will be played inside this particular box. Now we have to work on the div for the block. So we have to create a block, and that block will move again and again through the screen with holes present at a random place every time. Fine. I hope you guys got it. So let's style the block now. What we'll do is we'll go to a CSS file and we'll write here hash block. Fine. So this is the ID for the block. Now inside this we'll use width as 50 pixels. Then we have height. So the height will be 500 pixels, equal to the height of the whole container. The next thing we'll write here is background color, and the background color will be, let's say, blue. Fine. We'll write here position as relative, and then we'll write here left 400 pixels. Fine. Now we know that after saving this piece of code, the block will not be visible anymore. So why is it not visible? It's a question, right? It arises in every person's mind. Save it, and here you can see the block is yet not visible. Now what we have to do is we have to set the left property as 200. Let's try to do it 200 once. So what we'll do is we'll write here 200 pixels. Save it now. And here you can see we have a block over our screen. Now the value of left property as 200 means the block is present to 200 pixels from the rightmost corner of the container. If we write here 400 and save it, you can see we don't have any block here. It means that the block is present right after this entire container. The block starts here and goes till here. It's a 50 pixels wide block, and it's not visible because we have set the left property as 400. So now the next thing we have to do is we need some animation over this box, right? Or we can say we need some animation over this block, right? So what we'll do is we'll write here animation, and we'll write here block. We have to perform it on a block, and the animation time will be 2 seconds. We'll write here linear, and it will go till infinite. Fine. Now this animation property will help us in moving the box again and again after every 2 seconds. And the moving points we have to define here. So for that, what we have to do is we have to write here @keyframes. After this we'll write here block, and inside this we'll write 0%. Left will be 400 pixels, and at 100% animation, what we'll do is we'll set the left property as -50 pixels. Fine. Now you guys might be wondering what we are doing here, but this keyframe here is a rule that specifies the animation code, and it will help the block move again and again from 400 pixel in the right to -50 pixels in the left. Fine. Save it, and we'll go to the browser. You can see the box is moving again and again after every 2 seconds or 2 milliseconds. Now the next thing we have to do is with the hole in the block. So we have to put a hole here in the block, and for that we have to access another div with ID as hole. Fine. So we'll move to a CSS file and we'll access that particular element with ID as hole. So we'll write here hash hole, and inside this we'll write height of the hole will be 150 pixels less than that of the block. Width will be 50 pixels, same as the block. And then we'll write here background color. Fine, so let's say the background color is yellow. This is for practical purpose. You can change it by yourself. The next thing we'll write here is position. Position will be relative. Left will be 400 pixels and top will be minus 500 pixels. Fine. Then we'll write here animation. Again we'll write here block. We'll write here 2 seconds. We'll write here linear. And we'll write here infinite. Fine. Now this hole will also go with the same animations as the block. Save it and open the browser, and here you can see the hole is not properly over the block. They are both at different locations. So we can try to refresh this code, and here you can see the hole is now present at the top of the block. So here is the hole. This yellow part represents the hole for this particular game. Now it is working totally fine. And this is an empty space. To make this hole randomly come anywhere in the block, we have to do some magic with JavaScript for that. So we'll do it later in this video. Now if the hole is not placed over the block in your code, don't worry, just refresh the code, or we can say just refresh the home page. It will be fine, or if not, it will get fine once we go through the JavaScript part. That's not a major deal. So let's move on to the bird now. What we'll do is we'll add an image to our HTML file for the bird. So we'll write here inside the HTML file, we'll write here where the ID is bird, we'll write here img. Okay, we'll write here src is equals to bird 1.png. So let me check if this file exists in our system or not. So here we have bird.png, not bird1.png. Save it, and what we'll do is we'll write here alt as bird. We'll close this img tag, save it, open the browser, and you can see the bird is not visible as of now. To make this image visible, we have to work on the styling. So we'll access this image with the ID bird. What we'll do is we'll go to the CSS file again, and we'll write here hash bird. The next thing we'll write here is position. So position will be fixed, and top of bird will be 100 pixels. Then we have height as 50 pixels, and width will also be 50 pixels. Fine. We'll do the same for image tag as well. So we'll write here bird img, and inside this we'll write height as 50 pixels, and we'll write here width, fine, as 50 pixels. Fine. Now save it, and if we open the browser now, you can see we have a bird in our game now. We are halfway done in making our game, and we haven't used any JavaScript until now, right? That's quite funny. So we'll use JavaScript now. Let's move on to the JavaScript part. We'll go to the JavaScript file first. Now, first of all, we'll access every element of a JavaScript file that we can access. So we'll use the getElementById method to access every element of a HTML file. What we'll do is we'll write here where hole. So hole is the ID of hole present in the block. So we can access that div tag here. We'll write here document dot getElementById, and we'll write here hole. Fine. The next thing is we'll write here where game is equal to document dot getElementById. The ID will be game. Fine. So for now we need to access these two elements only. We'll add some more elements later, and then we'll access them. So for now, let's focus on these two only. Next up, we need the hole to be placed in random places in the block every time. For that, we need an event listener. So we'll create a function that will change the location of this hole every time. It will change the location on every iteration of the block. Fine. So we'll write here hole dot add event listener, and we'll write here animation iteration. So this is a event listener, and we'll write here a function name. So let's say we are writing here ran hole. Fine. So this is a function. It's random hole. So we'll write here ran hole. Now we'll declare this function as well. We'll write here function ran hole, and inside of this function we'll take a variable random, let's say. So this is a variable. We'll write here minus math dot random. So this is a function, and we'll multiply this value by 350. So this means that it will take any random value between 0 and 350. Fine. And then what we'll do is we'll add 150 to that particular value, and the whole value will be changed to minus. We'll see it in a moment why we are doing so. So the next thing we'll write here is whole dot style dot left. Now whole dot style dot top is equals to random plus pixels. Fine. I hope you guys got it till now. So this math.random function will pick any random value between 0 to 350, and 150 will be added to that particular value, because we don't want the value to go down as low as 10, and the hole will go out of the container's borders. So the initial value of the hole was, let's check it out. So here we are in a CSS file. So you can see the initial value of hole was minus 500 pixels for top. Fine. So the new value will be random plus pixels. The value was 500 because we wanted the hole at the top of the block, and now it will take any random value and the hole will be placed according to that particular random value. So let's save it, open the browser, and here you can see the hole is moving randomly now. You can see it was initially present at the top. Now it is at the bottom here. So it will change the location randomly according to the random number picked up by the math.random function. So let's get back to the JavaScript part. Now, before we move on to the fall and game over function, let's discuss the game over scenario first, and we'll finish out all the necessary HTML and CSS tasks for the game over. So the game will be over when the bird strikes the pole, or either the bird falls down to the ground. On game over, the score will be shown on the screen with a restart button, right? So the score will be counted on the basis of blocks passed by the birds. Now the number of blocks passed will be the final score. So we'll take a variable score and increase the value of this score variable with each random block coming through. So we'll take a variable score and we'll write here where score is equals to 0. The initial value will be 0. So let's do the HTML part, wherein we'll use a div tag to print the result on the screen. What we'll do is we'll go to the HTML file, and here what we'll do is we'll write here after this particular div tag, we'll write div id is equals to result, and here we have another div tag present over here. Now inside this div tag, we'll use a h1 tag and we'll write here game over. Fine. Next thing we'll do here is we'll use p tag with id as, let's say, text. Fine. We'll close the p tag here, or the paragraph tag we can say. Now we need a button. So we'll write here button id is equals to btn. We'll write here on click is equals to location dot reload, and we'll write here restart. Fine. Now the HTML part is done. The paragraph tag with ID as text will be used to print the score on the scoreboard. Now this location.reload method is used to reload the whole web page. On clicking the start button, the entire page will be reloaded and the game will start again. Fine. We'll use CSS to style all of this game over part. So we'll go to the CSS file, and here's the CSS file. Now we'll write here hash result. We are accessing the div tag with ID as a result. So the height will be, let's say, 200 pixels for result, and the width is, let's say, 500 pixels. Fine. So if I show you once again, so here is the block for game over scenario. So the height is 200 pixels and the width is 500 pixels. Basically we need to create a card, right? Or we can say a rectangle. So we'll move back to the CSS file and we'll write here background color is, let's say, brown. Margin will be 5 rem auto. So margin top will be 5 rem and then it will do it automatically. Then we'll write here border. So border will be 2 pixels solid and the color will be white. Fine. We'll write here border radius. So the border radius will be, let's say, 20 pixels. We want rounded borders, and the display will be none. Fine. The last thing we'll do is we'll write here text align as center. It will align the text in the center. And the next thing we are left with is the button. Fine. So we'll write here hash btn, because the ID of button element is btn. So we'll write here padding 0.5 rem and 1 rem. Fine. The border will be none because we don't need any border for this button. We of course want the button to be round from the corners, so we'll write here border radius is 11 pixels. Background color is green. Color is white. Font size is 1.5 rem. We'll write here text transform uppercase. We'll write here margin top 1 rem. So guys, you can see we are using this rem again and again. So I might wonder that if any one of you knows the exact definition of this word rem. If yes, then do let us know in the comments below, and let's see how many of you guys know the actual definition of this term. So the last thing we'll do is we'll write here cursor is equals to pointer, and we are good to go. Fine. The next thing is we'll write here hash text margin top will be 1 rem and font size will be 2 rem. Fine. We'll do one more thing. We'll write here color is seashell. So this will be the color of our text. So we are now totally done with the HTML and CSS part. The only thing remaining now is the JavaScript part, and we have to work on that only. So just a few more if else statements and all, and we are done with the game. Now moving back to the JavaScript part, but before we go there, let me just show you how this works. Save it and go to the browser. So this is our game, and you can't see any game over scenario here, right? So for that, what we have to do is we have to go here in result and we have to comment this particular statement. Fine. Display as none, we have to comment out this statement. Save it now. And it's not working now as well. Okay, here's a mistake in this div tag. What we did wrong here is, so this was a mistake. Save it now. And now here you can see we have a card for game over here. And if you click on this restart button, you can see the page is reloading again and again. So it's working totally fine. We'll move back to the CSS file and we'll remove this. Fine. Save it now. And let's go back to the JavaScript part. Now we'll access two more HTML elements that we just created. So what we'll do is we'll write here where result is equals document dot get element by ID, and the ID is a result. Fine. And then finally we'll write here where text is equals to document dot get element by ID, and the ID is text. Fine. So the next thing we'll do is we'll write here where jumping is equals to 0. We'll take another variable for the bird to jump. Now we'll need all these elements further in the video. Now we have to create functions for falling, and we have to mention the conditions for game over as well. So what we'll do is we'll write here after this ranHole function, we'll write here where fall is equals to set interval. We'll set an interval. So we'll write here function, and then we have the body of this function. So the next thing we'll do is we'll write here where bird top is equals to %. We'll write here window dot get computed style, and we'll pass bird here. Then we'll write here dot get property value, and the property value will be top. Fine. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll write here if jumping is equals to 0, the body of if statement, we'll write here bird dot style dot top is equals to bird top plus 2. After this we'll make them in pixels. Fine. Now we have to mention the time in milliseconds here, so we'll write here 10, and we are good to go. So here in this function we are using the top value provided to the bird. So we have used these two functions, window.getComputedStyle and getPropertyValue, to get the elements style property with ID as bird, and the top value we need will be passed to the following function. The value of jumping is 0, so the style.top will be set to bird top plus 2 pixels. Now the initial value was 100 pixels from the top, and 2 pixels will be added to the value after every 10 milliseconds now. Save it, and here you can see a bird will fall eventually. Fine. So what's happening here is 2 pixels will be added to this value of top after every 10 milliseconds now. Fine. Now we have to define those conditions here, wherein we'll check if the bird touches the ground, then game over. For that we have to write inside the same function only. So we'll move back to a function and we'll write inside this particular function only. We'll write here where block left will take the left value of block and we'll write here percent window dot get computed style. So we need the computed style for block now, and we'll write here dot get property value. Fine. So we'll write here left because we need the left value, and the value will be stored inside block left, and then we have where whole top. Fine. We'll write here percent window dot get computed style. We'll write here whole, and then we'll write here get property value, and we'll write here top. Fine. Now what we'll do is we'll write here where htop. So this is another variable. So the value of htop will be 500 plus whole top. So any value returned to the whole top variable will be added to 500, and that value will be assigned to htop variable. Fine. Now we have to write here conditions. So the conditions will be if bird top is greater than 450 or block left. So we have made a mistake here. We have to put one more bracket over here, and then we'll write here block left is less than 50, and then we'll write here block left greater than minus 50. Then we have bird top is less than htop, or bird top is greater than htop plus 100. Fine. I'll explain it to you in a moment. Now what we have to do is we have to write here result dot style dot display. We have to change this style to block now, which was none till now. So then we'll write here text dot inner text is equals to your final score is colon, we'll use here dollar, and then we'll print the score here. Fine. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll write here game dot style dot display is equals to none, which was block until now. Now the last thing we have to do is we have to change the value of score to 0 again, so that the game will restart from 0. Now let me explain this to you guys. So we have to write here bird top first, not bird yop. So now if bird top is greater than 450 means that the bird is touching the ground, or we can say the bottom part of the container. Now you can get all these values correct by going through the inspect elements, and I hope you guys already know how to use it in JavaScript to get the exact values in pixels. So I want you guys to check it, to cross check it once if it's fine or not. Now if the block left is less than 50 and greater than minus 50 means if the bird is colliding with the block or not, and the bird top is less than htop means the bird is hitting with the top of the block or the bottom of the hole, we can say. The last one is for the bird to collide from the upper part of the block. Now in all these cases the result box will appear and the style of the result box will be blocked. The paragraph tag with ID as text will show the score here, and the game.style will change to none. Now the game will disappear and the game over scenario will come forward. Now score will be again 0, as if the user wants to restart the game, then he can restart it from 0 again. So save it once and let's see if it's working or not. Save it and go to the browser, close it. Okay, you can see it's working totally fine, but it says your final score is $score. So we have made a mistake over here. Now what we'll do is we'll go back here and we'll check what's wrong here. Fine. Okay, the mistake here is of single inverted comma. Instead of single inverted comma, we have to put this sign over here. Now save it, go back to the browser, restart the game, and you can see it's working totally fine. It says your final score is 0. Restart it again, and here you can see it's working totally fine. Now we are left with only one thing, and that thing is quite easy. So what we have to do now is we have to make the bird jump on button press. So we have to create one last function for this event. So what we'll do is we'll write here after this window dot add event listener. We'll add an event key down, and then we'll write here hop. So hop will be a function. Hop is basically a synonym for jump as well. So we'll define this hop function now. We'll write here function hop, and then we have the body of this function. So jumping will set to 1 on calling this function, and we'll write here where bird top is equals to %. We'll again write here window dot get computed style, and the style will get from bird, and the property we want is top. Fine. Now we'll write here if bird top is greater than 6, then we'll write here bird dot style dot top minus 60. Fine. Okay, so we'll write here is equals to bird top minus 60. So we'll put all this inside a bracket and we'll convert it to pixels. So for that we have to write here pixels inside double inverted comma. Fine. Now what we have to do next is we have to write here set timeout, and we have to create an anonymous function over here. So we'll write here function, and we'll again set the value of jumping to 0 after every 100 milliseconds. Fine. So every time a key is pressed, the hop function will be called and the value of jumping will change to 1. It will again take the bird top value and check if the value of bird top is greater than 6. And if yes, then subtract 60 from it and save it inside the top of the bird. Then again, the bird will try to go down after every 100 milliseconds, but the bird will also go up by 60 pixels on each button press. Right. Now save it and our game is ready. So we are done with creating the game. Now what we'll do is we'll go to the browser and we'll restart the game. So here you can see our bird is jumping and we can take the bird from the holes. So here you can see we have a bird and it's working fine. So we have to take the bird through these holes. So here you can see it says your final score is 0 every time. Fine. So let's check out for this ones. Okay, so we have forgot to mention here score plus plus. Now save it. Go back to the browser. Now we'll play this game again once. So we have to take this bird through these gaps in between the blocks. See how long it goes. So here you can see it says your final score is 5, and then again the value of score is set to 0 after some time. That's because if the person want to restart the game, then the value of score will be 0 for that restart. Now here you guys just saw me playing this exciting game, and I want you guys to try it. It's fun and you'll enjoy the game more after creating it by yourself. So we are done with our first JavaScript game. And as we mentioned earlier that we'll go through 2 different games in JavaScript, but it might not be possible in this particular video because the length is already too long. And we'll go through another JavaScript game in the upcoming video, guys. So till then, I want you guys to do something more creative with this particular game, and I want you guys to tell me in the comment box that what else you can do with this particular game, and you can let me know that if the pixels we used in this particular video are fine or not. So whatever you are doing with this video, please let us know in the comments below. So that's all for this video, guys. See you in the next one where we'll go through another exciting JavaScript game. If you liked this video, do give it a thumbs up. If you have any doubts, do let us know in the comments below. Share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe SimpliCode. Thank you.